You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped! Yes! And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC. And as always, I'm your host, Nate, joined by my game day booth mate, John Bisworm. John, I don't know if it's because we've been distracted playing like a lot of pro clubs on AFC 25, or if this spring has just been busier than normal, but like opening day kind of crept up on me like a mongoose creeping up on a snake. It's just like 9 more sleeps and we're back in that booth. Can you feel it?
I'm with you, man. I want to apologize to listeners. We used to be on top of shit, regularly recording, and I don't want to say we dropped the ball. We just like have to figure out how to reprioritize the podcast.
It's true. It's true. We've had and we've been holding out for some interviews that haven't come to fruition. Yeah. So that's been part of it too. But yeah, we've spring's been crazy between you and your soccer life with your kid's soccer life and me and my kid's soccer life.
It doesn't mean that from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. we still can't do this. We just have to make it work, Nate. And so we'll make that promise to the listeners that we're going to do our best.
Put the controllers down, boys.
What's that?
Put the controllers down, boys.
Yeah, or do this first as a reward. The controller.
That's right.
So we'll make that promise. But anyways, getting back to like the task at hand today. Yes, I'm ready for the season to start. I have very, very high expectations, and I'm really glad we're doing this episode this week because we're going to talk about what to expect. So I don't know what else to say, man, other than I just want to get into this episode so we can start talking about a real team and real teams we're going to be playing against and what we think. And then right around the corner is going to be everyone's favorite 2 assholes with an opinion after a game day talking about what should and shouldn't have been done.
Right on, man. Well, tonight we're getting ready for that season opener coming up with a rundown of the schedule and a look at the final city roster. Are you ready to rock?
I want to rock.
Bam!
That was pretty terrible. Sorry. More apologies, fans. Opening night, May 18th, is right around the corner, bringing us the first of at least 9 home games. That's a lot in our all too short summer of soccer. Our first opponent will be a club that just might be the favorites to win the Heartland Division, and one that has just figured us out and gotten us every single time. That is RKC, or the Third Post.
Yeah, RKC finished last season somehow 3rd in the Deep North. John, I kind of expected them to have done better. When I was like looking at the results, I was like, oh, I thought they were better than this. They had a record of 6-1-5. They were just 2 points off the second playoff spot, which was the Bavarians, which was a surprise to me. I guess I stopped paying attention when it was clear we weren't really going to go top 2. But this year, without Thunder Bay or the Bavarians in the division, I have to believe they're going to be gunning for first place. And where like you can think about like how City leveled up our roster building this year, RKC kind of already had that on lock. Like taking a look down their roster this year, I see Northwestern, I see Indiana, UW Milwaukee, Marquette, UW Green Bay, UNC Wilmington, Wisconsin, Kevin Andrews, and Marshall, and so many other good like D1 programs are sending talent Racine's way. So they should be a tough opponent again.
I think so. There's also some players I know that are going to be playing there that haven't been put on their roster yet that will be. And I think that what you find with a team like Racine is that they have a unique situation where they're not in a top 10 media market like we are. They're in between 2 major markets, Milwaukee and so said Milwaukee first, Milwaukee and Chicago.
Yep.
So there's the players that grew up as like tweeners in that area that were like maybe too big from a talent perspective for the Milwaukee area, but too far away from Chicago, and vice versa. Like maybe not as big for the Chicago market, and then like bigger than or big enough to then go up to the Milwaukee market and play. So it's this interesting area, but also they have a good ownership group that has money, and they're able to house these players from big schools. And as we know, it only takes one player from a school to play with you and then go back and spread the love and the word to the teammates. And then next year, maybe 3 come, maybe 4 come. So I think they've done a really good job of that. And they've won soccer games and been competitive. And they had 2 players picked in the MLS Super Draft and 4 total signed to MLS contracts from the roster last year. So
that's pretty good.
So why would you not want to go there?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like talent just kind of breeds talent in that way, where or attracts talent in that way, I guess I should say. So we'll see who they end up rolling out this year, but it's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, I would say so. And I know that Coach Oliver has that one circled on his calendar because he felt undone by some unlucky bounces and some, we'll call it questionable officiating in both of those matches. So I know last time I talked to him about kind of the outlook of the season, he had mentioned that it's one team that he's really looking forward to getting another 2 cracks at. But up next on the schedule, we have an early away trip to Aurora, Illinois, the home of Wayne and Garth. We will run into Riverlight FC. Riverlight also finished 3rd in their division last year with a record of 7-3-2. Difference being last year's Heartland Division had 3 teams with 10 points or less, whereas the Deep North only had 1. We'll bring some more analysis closer to that, the 22nd, but this is a team that could compete at our level for sure.
Yeah, I think they're pretty comparable to probably what we're going to roll out or what St. Croix might roll out. Mm-hmm. But first, speaking of teams that finished with 10 points or less, the new to us team, Chicago Dutch Lions, are up next on the schedule, coming to the Nelly on May 30th. And John, they finished last year with 0 points. Mm-hmm. No wins, no losses, or no wins, no draws, 12 losses. Yep. So they're a franchise team, John. They've got, the Dutch Lions have clubs all over the country. Definitely a stronger women's program. I think, Rose Lavelle was a Dutch Lion. She's like number 1 on their page, just like Brandon Bai is number 1 on ours. Mm-hmm. Here's something interesting, John. The Dutch Lions announced in January that they partnered with or have merged with Chicago City, who was a USL2 team that finished last year's Heartland Division in 2nd to last place. So they won 2 games. They had 8 points. So hopefully that buys the Dutch Lions a couple of wins this year, just not against us.
As we know, the turnover rate at this level is extremely high. So one season's bottom feeder can easily flip-flop with a good recruiting class to level up to be a top half team. I mean, even if you look at, historically speaking, the Dutch Lions as a whole on the men's side, not necessarily a track record of strength, but you never know. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be like when we first entered the NPSL North, where we kind of know a few teams and kind of what they are and who they might be. Whereas now we just kind of have to wait and see after that first run through the league and in the first legs, and then kind of draw our conclusions from there and analyze on how we match up with those teams.
Yeah. Up next, John, we're going to head to Joliet, Illinois to lock horns with Sueño FC. Another interesting tidbit. My research found that Sueño is owned by something called Pearson Sports Group, whose motto, when you go to their website, is "When the game ends, results matter." But results have not been kind for Sueño FC, who wrapped up in the bottom 3 of the Heartland Division with a record of 3 wins, 1 loss, or 1 draw, 8 losses, 10 total points out of that year, last year. Sueño, John, looks like another organization, kind of like the Dutch Lions, but less established, who just like are making money off of scouting services.
Can you explain that a little bit? What you mean by scouting services? I was looking at that in the notes and I didn't have time to look it up.
Yeah, I think, let me find it in my history and I'll tell you. So scouting services, if I go to Sueño FC, basically what it is they've got like a here, I'll go Pearson Sports Group, and you go to About Us. What do they do? Well, they've got Sueño Football Club, which is founded to, showcase local talent, but really like scouting services help your organization identify players without the cost associated with setting up an entire scouting department. So and then of course they make some money off some training opportunities. They give player and team tours, immersive experiences designed to provide players with a chance to train like professionals. Really strange. And then also on the top on their menu is Mag Mile Sports, which is a sports agent company run by.
If they have a connection to the bridge program down in Chicago.
I don't know.
That is kind of like would house players, train them, then sell them.
Maybe it feels like it's either like a very elaborate scam set up by, or not, just like a money making scheme set up by a guy who just happens to be a licensed FIFA agent, and his buddy who's a director of talent identification named Matthew Pearson. So Matthew Pearson probably started the Pearson Sports Group. Pearson Sports Group probably starts Sueño FC, somewhere to put their players that they're trying to convince that they're going to give a higher level of soccer, or at least open the door to a higher level of soccer. I don't know. It's all speculation, but it feels very strange that like when you go to the soccer club's website, you end up at like 2 levels of sports agent and sports like, I don't know. It all feels like a way to make money for somebody.
Well, all I know is that this team is a mystery to me and apparently all of us, and I will be making this my away match of the season. So they better get ready for my A+ banter game on the sidelines. That's where I'll leave that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's legit, but it just looks like it's all about making money off the dreams of soccer families with money to burn. Because, sueño, John, Spanish for dream. Rochester is next on our USL2 schedule. And, this is a team that's really struggled to find its way in the USL2, whether it's the Deep North Division or now the Heartland Division. They finished last year with 7 points, bottom of the table, 2 wins, 1 draw, 9 losses. I'm not really sure how this pipeline got established here down in Rochester, but I'm counting 6 players from Japan. Beyond that, what do you know about Rochester's player pool this year?
Not a ton, but they did invest heavily after the merger with Med City in recruiting, which apparently they made a trip to Japan. And that was where I feel they fell down and Med City kind of stood up. They consistently had talent, just like from a Med City perspective. They just didn't really always know what to do with it. And I expect a stronger side this year from them. And being our southern neighbors, I hope it's true, because as we've seen, rivalries, like true rivalries that are less one-sided. Case in point, our NPSL North Conference when we were in it, like that just made for good soccer to come out and watch. And you root against the neighbors from the other side of the state. It becomes that true tribalism, and it makes it more fun, right? And when the other side of the field is just as strong, if not stronger than you, it makes it better for everybody. So I kind of hope more, but I've been down to quite a few games in Rochester because it's an easy drive, and I see a really, really good attempt at game day experience and a good attempt at bringing players in, but I just don't see it translate to the product on the field. And then you look in the stands, and each year we've played against them, it's 70-30 City fans to Rochester fans at their stadium. So I'm hoping that this is the year where it kind of levels out a little bit, and maybe it will.
Hopefully. I mean, I think, like you said, with the merger with Met City, maybe that helps bring some fans in. Also, well, anyway, there is sort of a youth movement down there in Rochester with the, I think it's the Rush franchise?
Yeah.
Are down there, so maybe they can latch onto that. Who knows? But last but not least, John, we will be seeing our old friends St. Croix Legends for the first time this summer on Wednesday, June 18th, and then the schedule starts all over as we do the reverse fixtures for all these teams. The Oliver Derby gave us some really interesting matches last year, including a victory on the final game day of the regular season, and then a defeat shortly thereafter in the Minnesota Super Cup final. John, we always see familiar faces coming out of Stillwater. Who can we look forward to lining up for the Legends?
Honestly, Nate, I think Tyler Oliver will keep the core of his team from last year together with another year of experience, which would be smart. And so I think he's going to be doing that. I have totally invested myself in looking at who they're bringing in. Also, seeing that Casey made the move over to our clubhouse, I think this one is more centered around the players that decided to follow Casey rather than the ones that stayed. So some pretty vital pieces came west with Casey. And at the end of the day, this one goes back to that true rivalry note I made just a moment ago. It's better for everyone if these games are close. And thus far in our years of playing them in the USL2 and the UPSL, they have been. And I hope they continue. Obviously, I hope that we come out on the right side of those. But it's good to see, strength in the conference. And I say that in the beginning of the year, and then all of a sudden, if we're in the bottom half, then I'm like, what the hell's going on? But it's good. It's good. Competitive soccer is good, whether you win or lose.
One thing that always strikes me about St. Croix is that, especially in the last couple of years, as we've looked to recruit talent from D1 schools and guys that we think are this is the top talent in the state. St. Croix will always roll out the same guys: Stu Sane, Stu Sane, right? Colton Prater, and they outplay us. It's always just 110% effort at St. Croix, and that is the ultimate challenge going up against them is sometimes guys that play above or that punch above their weight class, and that's great. That's kind of what you want in a matchup. Unpredictability.
Yep.
So I don't know if that doesn't get you excited for the season starting. Maybe this next segment will. I want to break down the opening day roster for your Minneapolis City Crows.
Yeah, Nate, I've been hearing all offseason from whether it's Casey, Adam, Justin, and, at the member meeting, Justin talked about how this year's recruiting process raised the bar. And we see that across our roster. And we're talking about what I feel is a different approach and level to the recruiting that we've had as we go into the start of the season. So I'm really excited to go through this stuff.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the goalkeepers to start. The goalkeeper room this year is Nolan Meyer. He's a keeper from UW Milwaukee. We've got Daniel Sessler out of St. Mary's returning, and Jack Roach returning from the University of Wisconsin.
This is a really strong goalkeeper room, and that's no disrespect to the goalkeepers of the past. In this group, you have a plug and play with little to no drop off in all three. In fact, I feel that each of them kind of has their own unique strength that they can call their own, that maybe the rest in the room are clearly serviceable at, but they are better at. So I don't see a lot of wiggle room here as far as a drop off is concerned. Mm-hmm. You have newcomer Nolan Meyer, who put up big games in college at Milwaukee, and then also we saw him last summer. We played against him twice in St. Croix. With Evan gone, I think this spot is up for grabs for whoever wants to take it. And with a short season, it might be the first guy who takes it. Eventually, doesn't lose it. So it's going to be tough going. But as we've seen, travel, obviously we don't have to go to Canada this year, but a couple trips down to Chicago midweek, things like that. Some people might not be available. I think this is a luxury to have three goalkeepers who could wear the number one.
Sure. Up next, John, let's look at defenders, and this is kind of a lighter defender group. We've got Nick Kent, who we know and love, coming out of McAllister. Jonah Garcia is the true veteran, the master sergeant on the team. Ondieki Mena, another McAllister name. Jared Hecht, who we know from playing against him for a number of years, whether it's on the USL2 team or occasionally he would have slid into, other St. Croix teams as well to torment us. Jeffrey Richter out of Augsburg. Cole Schrage, who plays at Drake or Creighton. Yep. And then Curtis Wagner. And I can't remember where Curtis plays.
Curtis is at Loyola.
That's right. So some familiar names, some new faces, and an old enemy putting on the feathers for the first time.
I like where you went with that one. Could have gone a couple different directions.
Nope.
Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of familiar names here, and also both a first generation and a second generation futures graduate in Nick Kent and Jeffrey Richter. So that's cool.
Oh yeah.
There's depth in the back this year, Nate, and quality depth at that. We have been thin in big ball winners in the back, but not this year. When I look at the average being about 6'3" and just massive human beings back there, I'm obviously looking forward to another year of having a Kent on the roster. That's awesome. We got the luxury of having 2 last year, which was super cool. But I personally am excited to see Big Curtis Wagner come back after another year in college. So this will be his 3rd season with us. I love his grit and his like no shits given attitude that he comes with, because it's almost like having a cocky striker in a center back's body. So I encourage the fans to watch his off the ball banter and his attitude towards opposing attackers. It reminds me of like the other side of the coin to what we saw from Coach Justin Oliver when he played with us, but in a big, huge center back.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Curtis a lot. Next up, John, we're going to move our way up the field, and our midfielder core is looking strong. Of course, we got Mitchell Munzing coming back from Augsburg, Morgan Olson, who plays somewhere, I can't remember. Yeah, that's right, Portland, along with Highfield. Jake Swallen out of Wake Forest. Otis Anderson is with us and healthy this year, which is great, coming from Gustavus. Andrew Holmes out of St. Cloud State. Sid Kerr from St. Thomas. Joey Tawa is back with the club. And Ian Shaw. I can't remember where Ian plays either. Notre Dame. Thank you. That's a pretty solid program.
Yeah, pretty good.
This midfield group, John, is a combination of exciting young talent and exciting established talent. But save for a few returning faces, it's kind of a new group for us. What will the midfield be asked to do in Justin Oliver's system?
Well, before I get there, I'll say this note first. With zero disrespect to our central players that we've had in the recent past, but we have not seen a day in, day out, rock solid central group since we had Ian Smith, Max Stewart, and Martin Brown Jr. running our midfield. Call it the glory days, if you will. That is a pretty hard group to follow, and there was multiple midfielders who had to follow that. And I feel that it went for a few years a position of strength to a position of not weakness, but a position that could be exposed for Minneapolis City. So if we're talking about strengths, though, and what they can do, this entire group, top down, Nate, has everything you want for Coach Oliver. It has passers, scorers, game managers, gritty tacklers, box-to-box workers. I mean, that is everything you need. And it's going to be really hard to see where the coaches can go wrong when selecting a game day roster, as there is something for every need when it comes to countering what an opposition might give you each week.
I think that when I look at this midfield group, I'm of course really excited to see Jake Swallen. This is a guy that we've been thinking of and talking about behind the scenes for I don't know how many years.
Since he was
since he was in high school. Strong prospect, ends up at Wake Forest, gets a lot of minutes. Wake Forest is a top program in Division One. All the way down to like
run his senior year.
Yep. All the way down to like, dude, Mitchell Munzing last year was out of his mind. Like he played until he broke his arm. And even after he broke his arm, he comes on and scores a penalty. But he played probably the best I've ever seen anyone play at that like pure number 10. Whether it's passing, whether it's scoring goals, just the engine on him. I can't wait to see him in the USL2.
Well, obviously, I have some players that I'm excited for. But if we're talking about Mitch Munzing, I have been a Mitch Munzing fan since he joined the Futures program. This will be almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He does it all, and he does it all in a fashion where you don't know why it's not working until you look on the bench and you've subbed him out. And you're like, well, shit, that was the guy that was doing everything and all the little things and then some big things. And he just has it all from a central player, like a tireless engine. He can score, he can pass. He doesn't shy away in the tackle. I'm excited for him for sure. And excited to see him play. I mean, he, no disrespect to Augsburg, but look at the group that he gets to play with.
Yep.
It can only make him better and unlock his talents as well as the others around him. I'm really looking forward to the pairing of Ian Shaw and Jake Swellen. I mean, you talked about Jake, but we're talking about a Notre Dame and Wake Forest products that have played a lot of meaningful soccer from the ages of 18 to 23. Ian Shaw was with the Portland Timbers organization out west and could have easily gone back there and played for their second team, but chose to play with us this year. And then in Jake, you mentioned we've been talking about Jake for years since he was in high school, and it just worked itself out that he is out of contract after competing in 17 games for Sporting KC2 last campaign. So is there a better place to get sharp and showcase yourself for another shot at getting into the pro game again than your hometown local club? I don't think that there is.
Yeah. It kind of just fell into our lap, like luckily in between, like you said, in between contracts. So could be a good year. Could be a good year for us with Jake in the midfield. Finally, let's look at who we hope the goals are going to come from. The forwards. Returning, of course, Joe Highfield from Portland, Tomas Mena from Augsburg, along with Messiah Harris from Augsburg, Shea Bechtel, who graduated from St. Olaf, Julian Banks, who is from... I just had this open. Dang. Julian Banks, Elijah Fearing, our youngest player. I think he's from Woodbury High School. He's got to be the youngest player, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be a freshman at Drake next year. And then Preston Kipnisu, also at Drake. It's cool to see, John, this forward group is mostly returning City talent. You got Shea Bechtel coming back to the club. He's a national champion. Took a little gap year to play with St. Croix when Justin came to City and he couldn't play for him. And then you got Joe Highfield, of course, and Messiah Harris. And those are guys that came into their own with the USL2 last summer. You add to that Tomas Mena and Elijah Fearing, who are making the leap from UPSL and Futures. And then you've got the wild cards that are Julian Banks and Preston Kip. I really think we have a lot to watch for this summer. Goals weren't exactly guaranteed last year. What's going to be different this year, and how can these guys contribute?
Last season, I think we really lost a spark on the offense when Shea Bechtel had to play with St. Croix, being closer to an internship opportunity, which you can't fault anybody for. And instead of coming back, ultimately, as you noted, that worked out because he couldn't have played for us anyways because of the coaching change. We saw how well he played off of a big striker in his connection with Hakeem Morgan in his college time, but also his time when they both played together in his lone year with Minneapolis City 2 years ago. Now he has a whole stable of oak trees to combine with to score goals. I mean, there are height is not a problem on this team, which is something we've probably never had. But the expectations, I think, will be big for Joe Highfield. He had strong performances that followed him out the door as he had to leave for college early last summer. But I'm really looking forward to newcomer Preston Kipnisu from Drake. You know, like sometimes you watch a game and obviously there's positions on the soccer field and you see that one player and you're like, yep, they just fit the mold of that position. Oh. That's Preston for me for a frontline player. He goes, I think 6'3", 6'4", has size, obviously, speed for his size, good hold-up play, the right amount of trickiness to kind of create his own thing, whether it be off the dribble or trying to get out of tight spaces, right time, right place poacher. I think he's going to benefit really well from working with someone like Joe alongside him and Shea ultimately on a wing from a striking perspective to unlock himself, but also his ability to unlock the others around him.
Nice. Should be exciting. Really, really pumped about this Minneapolis City team this year, John. I think it feels like the next evolution in Minneapolis City teams over the years, right? Like you think about back in the PLA days, the NPSL days, it was who are the top young talents that we can find coming out of high schools that are playing for some of the top clubs like St. Croix or Blackhawks or MTA, right? Throw them together. Maybe it's a couple guys coming back from college. Maybe we're lucky enough to grab a guy playing like with a D1 school like Harvard. And then as that kind of evolved, it really turned into, you know, this core of players that became the brotherhood, right? Guys that knew each other well, knew how to play together well, and found success doing that. And then I think since then we've kind of stumbled trying to find that right mix. But like this is a team full of players that are either that it's kind of a mix. It's like the top players in the area when you consider some of the guys like Harris, Munzing, guys that are playing around town like that, even down to Fearing, right, from Woodbury. And then you're adding in all of these guys from all over the country that are finally coming home to play. And I don't know what Casey did. I don't know if he's hypnotized him or what, but like when Minneapolis City can get guys from Notre Dame, Minneapolis City gets guys from, Drake finally, from all these schools that St. Louis that kind of like have been giving us the Heisman or like turning their nose up at us for a number of years. How awesome is that?
I think it's great. I mean, I think your evolution thing is really big. I talked about the midfield. I mean, our first ever team in the PLA had a 17-year-old Ian Smith, a freshly 18-year-old Max Stegward, and a 16, just turned 17-year-old Luke Hawkinson on it. And then you look at how they all went off, did their thing, came back, or stayed with us throughout their evolution and then into their next thing. We're kind of getting back to that, where it's like the best of the best wants to be here. And it's great. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very excited to be up in the booth and calling games this summer.
Yeah, me too, John.
Well, that will do it for this show for this week, folks. We have to give a shout out to our wonderful show sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. Still got to check in with Steve and see how he's doing out in the Bahamas or wherever he's at, whatever island he's on. Our friends at footballstadiumprints.com are always expanding their soccer-focused t-shirt designs, prints, and more. Don't forget to use the code CROWS10 for 10% off everything you purchase. And remember, and it's probably really important right now, all U.S. orders ship right from the States, so there are no pesky international shipping charges or tariff fears, I guess. As a reminder, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so feel good that your membership doubles as a charitable donation to a club that also does good. Memberships for the 2025 season are still on sale, so get it now before the games start and secure your spot in the stands for exciting 2025 soccer full of new faces and fan favorites. Do you have anything you want us to cover? I mean, the off-season's closing, so probably now or never. Connect with us on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcasts. And yes, we're still on Twitter X. You can even email us if you have any questions or topics you want to be covered on the show, mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can always connect with the club everywhere at MPLS City SC. That is all for this week. I am John. Of course, that was Nate. The season is almost here. Can you smell it? We'll be back next time with a game day preview and hopefully a little chat with coaching staff. We really got to get that one to work. So until next time, yeah.